Should we just start, or?
I think so.
Because we're going to do students first.
Yeah, we do students first, and again, we can just have him slide over, get his picture snapped right away. And
Roll call.
Okay, yeah, I'll call the meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Art Napgezek. Here. Art Napgezek.
Here.
John Donovan.
Here.
Tracy Lenz is present. Carrie Hildebrandt is present.
All right. First item is report from student representatives and student recognition.
I'm Ariel. I'm a junior at John Edwards High School, and I'm involved in the City Council, drama, National Honor Society, and College Club. And then I'm like a dancer at RSPA, which is After School Performing Arts. And then I also work at a small little cafe in Pittsville called Laura's Corner Cafe. And then in the future, like I want to major in psychology and then minor in math. And I've kind of been like thinking about where to go for that, and so with my colleges and everything. So I'm gonna give you like a recap of homecoming week. So on Monday we had dress up days throughout the whole week. On Monday we had vacation/beach day, so everybody dressed up in school appropriate uniforms and stuff like that. And then on Tuesday was character day, so we dressed up from our favorite characters from our favorite TV show. And then on Wednesday, each class had a different color they would wear. So freshmen were whiteout, sophomores were neon, and then juniors were denim on denim, seniors were tie-dye, and then the staff were plaid. And then on Thursday, it was Throwback Thursday, so we dressed as our younger selves. And then Friday, we always do Port Pride, so we all represented our school in that. And then on, let's see, we had a bunch of Black Hawk games, and those were all fun. People participated in those. And then, Saturday beforehand, we had a powder buff game, and we haven't had one of those in about 2 years or so. So this year was the first year in a couple of years, and that was pretty fun. And then we also had a powder puff game on Sunday. And then on Thursday, we had our parade, and we had all of the classes build a float, and each class participated in that. And then the band and volleyball and football, they were in there, and a bunch of other little businesses were in that too. And then we also had a pep assembly afterwards, and a bunch of people spoke there, and there were more games there. And after that, we had our annual bonfire, and it was a good thing we had that this year because it was rainy, so the rain stopped. And then on Friday was the football game, and Brenda will talk about that later. And then on Saturday, we had our dance.
Okay, so I'm Dulcie. I'm also a junior. I'm in band, Ecology Club, National Honor Society. I'm crew chief for drama and secretary for Skills USA. My future plans are to go to a four-year university and major in something like bio or something sciencey in general. So going off of Ariel, the band performed during our halftime game last week, and we also were in the parade, which was a success. And our next pep band is this week, Friday the 13th, right after school, and we just kicked off our annual cookie fundraiser today, and it's due on the 23rd of October.
All right, my name is Brenna Hawk. I'm a sophomore at John Edwards. I'm involved in student council, ecology club, drama, and I play volleyball this fall. As for future plans, I want to major in a healthcare field, and I plan to go to a four-year college. So as for sports at John Edwards, the football team currently has a record of 1 win and 5 losses, although they did recently move to an eight-man team as of this year. They will finish up their season home this Friday against Wisconsin Heights. The volleyball team will finish up their regular season tomorrow, this Thursday, in Tigerton, and our record is 14 wins with 11 losses, and we are 6-4 in conference. The JV team currently has 6 wins and 8 losses, and the JVR team is also doing well. The cross-country team will be having their conference meet on Saturday in Watoma. Also for volleyball, we have a small chance of hosting regionals.
And then on October 30th, we will be holding a blood drive. And since Halloween is on October 31st, we'll probably do a Halloween theme like we did last year.
And then for drama club, our next play is called Chateau La Roche, and it's a comedy about a hotel overrun with roaches. And it's on Friday, November 10th at 7:30 p.m. and it's one night only, so don't miss it. And then we'd like to give thank yous to the Port Edwards Police and Fire Department, Mr. Burnell for everything he's done, such as his students to set up the bonfire and help decorating homecoming. And then Mr. and Mrs. Miller for chaperoning the dance, Mrs. Goodenough for chaperoning the dance decorating and everything she's done for homecoming, and the float drivers and their refs for our powder puff game and our powder buff game.
Thank you. Yeah, I'd like to thank the student council for all your hard work on homecoming week. I know it's a lot of work. Thank you.
To give a little student recognition, Danny Spalding was elected as the homecoming king, and Cassidy Oshasky is the homecoming queen. And again, our students did a fabulous job. And they had mentioned drama, which is coming up very quickly. And yesterday, just so the board knows, with the drama side and our stage and all of that, we did have a few students who were able to see for the very first time the new lighting system powered up. And I don't know that these students know this yet, but there's Mrs. Rubishki, and I think the gentleman who was installing the system said 164,000 combinations of color are possible out of the new lighting system. So it is incredible, and it's digitally controlled, and it's wireless, and it will certainly enhance our plays, our drama productions, and our music productions. So, and again, kudos to Student Council for this past week.
All right. Well, you're free to go if you want. Thank you.
Thank you.
So next on the agenda is the president's report. All board members are in attendance. And our next board meeting is our budget and annual meeting, which is October 30th. And the November board meeting is Wednesday, November 8th. So next item on the agenda is proclamation. Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction, a proclamation. Whereas the National School Lunch Program plays an important role in helping to ensure that every child in the nation starts school ready to learn, because a hungry or undernourished child is less likely to be an eager and attentive student. And whereas the National School Lunch Program has demonstrated a national commitment to the promotion of our children's health and well-being, allowing children to concentrate on graduating with the skills and knowledge they need to be successful in the workplace or towards further studies, a primary goal of every child to graduate. And whereas in Wisconsin, over 2,400 public and private schools serve 485,000 lunches each school day, and whereas the success of this effort is due largely to resourceful and creative local food service administrators, managers, and staff working in cooperation with parents, teachers, community groups, government personnel, and students. And whereas in recognition of the contribution of the National School Lunch Program, Congress has designated the week beginning with the second Sunday in October of each year as National School Lunch Week, and has requested the President to issue an annual proclamation calling for an appropriate observance. Therefore, be it resolved that I, Tony Evers, State Superintendent of Public Instruction, do hereby proclaim October 9th through the 13th, 2017, as National School Lunch Week in the state of Wisconsin, and I commend this observation to all citizens.
We will be doing some recognition yet this week with
Great.
our food service employees.
All right. Administrative reports.
This evening, I want to bring you up to date, as to our current status in our energy efficiency projects, because work will begin in earnest on Saturday. So this Saturday, we are closing down the high school facility to do a small asbestos mitigation project in the ceiling above the gymnasium. That's the ceiling where the roof drains come into, and those drains at the elbows that we're going to replace on those drains, the insulation on the elbows is an asbestos insulation, and then there is a bit of asbestos in some plaster work where the drains actually enter from the outside into the building. All told, it will be a day less than a day project. It will take the mitigation company more time to get here, set it up, than it will to actually, and tear it down, than it will to actually run the project. Um, and just so that you know, from a health and safety perspective, we've got two other entities looking out for our best interests in this. One is CISA 10 we've worked side by side with them throughout all of our energy efficiency projects. They have been working with us on the best way to deal with the asbestos, as well as in order to do this work, we need to have a third-party entity that comes in, sets up what the scope of the work is for the mitigation company, and also does the safety and air quality checks, and will essentially declare the building safe once the project is over. We're doing this on a Saturday because we don't want employees or students around, and so that project, I've got. I might ask him to give me a little tighter information on it, but I do have with us tonight Mike Bant from Complete Control. They're overseeing the total energy efficiency project. But I think, Mike, I don't think it's 5 feet of asbestos that we're taking out, maybe. There's 4 roof drains. It's literally only, it's small pieces. We'll be removing probably total 12 to 15 feet of insulation, but a very small part of it is got the asbestos. So we just have to do the proper mitigation and take the proper safety precautions, and we're doing that. The roof work itself will begin, right now is slated for the week of October 23rd on the gymnasium roof. We are working closely in coordination with the roofer, which is Michael's Roofing, and Pellner Williams Plumbing. Pellner Williams will be doing the drain work. The good news on the system that Pellner found was that the drains are not cast iron, which is probably good news. All in all, he did find he was able to get up there, do some inspection. They are steel pipe drains. He is going to, when he gets in there, to replace the elbows in those drains and where they come off of the roof. We believe the problems are where those drain elbows exist, is where we've had plugging and other issues. The elbows will be replaced with sweeping elbows, a sweep elbow, which isn't a 90 degree. It allows, it's supposed to allow better drainage of the water. He's going to do an inspection of the pipes at that time as well, the rest of the drain pipes. We have no reason to believe that they're bad or problematic. He will do an inspection, and he will run a camera through those and clean them if needed. So all of that work will be done in conjunction with the roof work once the new drains are put in. It has to be coordinated with the roofer. So there's 4 drains. The roofer, when he works on one, he's going to work on this roof in parts as he does it, so that we have a continuous seal on the roof. Because every night that he's done with the project, we have to make sure things are sealed up. So when he is ready on the roof end to basically do the work around the drain, the plumber will come in and do that particular drain. It's a challenging job because the workspace is 3 to 4 feet tall total up in the ceiling, and they have to access it through hatches in the ceiling. So it's a challenging space, and then there's girders and heating and electrical. There's all kinds of things in the way up in that space. So it's a tight and challenging job. It's 40 feet up in the air, so that is challenging. All told, the roof project should be done in 3 to 4 weeks. There are no mechanicals on the gym roof, which is a good thing. So you don't have to worry about taking down AC units or air ventilation units. There's none of that existing on that roof. So by mid-November, that project should be wrapping up. We will have an inconvenience in our parking lot. Half of the parking lot that is closest to the gymnasium is going to be the half of the parking lot where they will be hoisting materials up and down. They're going to be mixing tar as well again, so we'll probably have that friendly smell. But they're going to try to do that in a bit different locations so that hopefully it is not a little more chance that odor getting over the building or beyond the building. So that best case scenario is 3 to 4 weeks, and that our drains do not have other issues. If our drain plumbing does have other issues, if we find that there's a bad pipe, we have talked with the engineer involved, and if it's something we have to deal with at that moment, we will work to deal with it at that moment. If it is something that could wait, we will probably wait and come back to it. But if he finds an issue we got to take care of, we will take care of it. It may be a little challenging because you can't fit 10-foot long sections of pipe up through these hatches into that ceiling. So there may be some challenges. Might have to be smaller sections with a lot of fittings. So we're really hoping that there are no other issues, that the issues really are at the elbows. That project came in actually under what we had estimated. The second portion of the project, the second major portion of the project, is going to be replacement of the roof. Here in the elementary building, it will be the upper roof above the gymnasium, and the mechanical area, and the offices. It will be the upper level there, along with the mansard, which is the steel roof that you can see from the street. Those areas are in the greatest need here now. The rubber on those roofs is delaminating, so that adhesive is coming up, and those pieces and components, they've been patched, and it looks in pretty rough shape, very rough shape. That will be a springtime project. We have had some leaking, but we've been able to keep it under control and get it patched. We'll do that project late spring, and then as well, depending on where we're at the end of both of those projects, we have a contingency built in again to deal with any issues that come up. We can then allocate the contingency as we did last year towards lighting, univents, and some of those other measures to spend out that project. We talked about we could do univents all day long in the buildings. We could do lighting all day long in the buildings. We get a lot of bang for our buck with lighting, and we have a lot of area in the high school yet that can be revamped in that area. All told, again, the project that you approved last year, $510,000. We're on track. In fact, we're looking very good at the moment. The one thing on the gym that was a discovery of the engineer that really has helped plan this project, and it was a great find by the engineer, because it is buried in the systems up there, and most people don't know they exist. There are 8 skylights that exist in the gymnasium ceiling and roof. They're not visible from the new ceiling, but they are there. We've done some inspection work, got inside the cavities of those skylights, and the roofer has a plan for there's concrete curbing above the roof line that will have to come out. None of that is visible on the roof that exists there now, so it's on the original roof, but that concrete curbing will have to come out. But this was also a great safety find now because, as they were tearing off the old roof, had we not found those with the engineer who was working on the drain issue, we didn't want to have a worker go through the roof somewhere because they didn't know that there were these skylights that are up there. So those will get covered over completely, and they have a plan for how to address those, how to knock off the curbs without having debris fall through the skylight, and so we've got plans in place for that as well. So that project, the gym roof, November, elementary roof, finished by no later than mid-June, so June 20th. So tonight, later on the agenda, you see that there is, where it says, consider approval of amendment to performance contract with complete control. What you are approving on that, in our original proposal, we did not have the gym roof. So the proposal is basically, what you are going to approve is the change in the scope of work to include the gymnasium roof at the high school. That's really what the change is, that we're doing that piece. It was not in the scope of work originally, and now it needs to be. So
The existing roof is in multi-layers. It has a metal exterior that's going to disappear.
Yes.
And the new roof is going to be the original,
It will go down to the original deck.
The original deck is concrete?
Yes. It's a spancrete deck.
It's a concrete deck, so they will fill the openings for the skylight, go down to the original concrete deck, insulate it,
Yep.
and then put membrane and tar and gravel on top of that?
No gravel.
No gravel.
It's fully adhered system.
It's just a membrane roof?
Yep, it's a membrane roof.
Okay.
And that's what we did on the new sections this last spring that we did.
Okay.
Yep, it's fully adhered roofing is what it's called, and you do not need to put the ballast on top of that.
Is there any, given the two incidents with the blocked drains, did the engineer make any suggestions at any point regarding expanding the size of the drains during the project, or is the size adequate if they're properly maintained?
Yes, what we're adding are scuppers and redoing the scuppers, and the scuppers are the overflows off the sides of the building.
Oh, okay.
There's one area where there is no scupper, and that probably helped contribute to the buildup. In fact, the scuppers that were there were actually closed on the ends, and I'm not really sure why they did it that way. They were actually originally closed on the ends, and they would have only allowed a small amount of water through. As part of the mitigation this spring to make sure the roof was draining, we opened those up completely from the old system. We knocked out the ends so that water could free flow. With those scuppers and the drains the way they are, it should adequately drain off that roof. The engineer looked at options about bringing the water, rather than running the water into the building. He did look at options to try to bring it out. It would be a nightmare challenge to bring it out because there's nowhere to go with it. You'd have to dig into the city drains and things. You can't bring it out to our parking lot. You can't bring it out to that side of the building because it already is limited drainage. And then you're going on the 3rd Street side, and it is very limited drainage there as well. The engineer, talked about, in reality, the city drainage on that end of the town, where all these roofs actually drain into the city drainage. Kitty corner from the high school on Levine. So where the cafeteria is, the corner of the building, the cafeteria, the roof drains actually go underground underneath that cafeteria and out that end of the building to a drain that's kitty corner. The capacities there from everything that the village is draining that direction on the street into those drains is probably not adequate. That side of the street floods. I mean, that's the village street there by the bus lobby in that area floods. There is one overflow there that we're going to make sure is open and functioning correctly as well. But we used to drain all of the roof lines there, and some of that drainage has been changed, and some of it, again, they built scuppers and run it off the ends where they can. But you just can't run all the water off the end. It would be we'd have issues there, especially with winter. So, and that will be something we'll have to make sure on our sidewalks that we're salting our sidewalks if we do get a heavy early spring rain, but then it's still going to freeze. Yeah, we're going to have to make sure that things are, we've salted, sanded, done all of those things, and watch that. But the engineer did look at other options, and it doesn't work where that building is located with where the village drainage is and how that's set up.
I mean, the incident that precipitated all of this was a relatively severe downpour.
Yep.
And you get
And failed drainage.
and failed
somehow.
drainage. So, every year or two, you're going to get a storm like that. You're going to get 2 inches of rain in 2 hours or something more or less.
We had no way to
Right.
run that water off of the roof before
Right.
because
Well,
the scuppers were.
If the scuppers are going to be enhanced or
Yep.
opened, then any water that can't go down the interior drains is going to run off the sides of the roof.
Yep.
I hope.
Yep.
That's all the engineer designed it.
Yep. And he's including one that does not exist that should have.
Okay.
And he is and making sure the others are all wide open.
Okay.
And that did not exist on the previous roof design. And we've had some pretty heavy rains all throughout the summer, and we've gone out and continued to visually inspect those drains. And the system that the engineer also designed on how the water actually enters the drains, he has sump pans built into the system. And a sump pan is basically the drain actually sets down in. If you get debris and things that build up, the actual top of the drain would be over any debris. So it allows debris to settle in, and so if you get leaves and things up there, it can settle down in, but the actual opening, the top of that drain will actually be above that, or part of it will be above it. So again, he took some measures to make sure that water was able to flow off, and then on the roof itself, the drain wasn't so flat that debris could just plug it up.
Now that exterior metal roof, the cap or whatever you want to call it, is going to be gone, now that all this work's done, maybe the school district should get a little drone with a camera to go up there every month or two and make sure that the debris is off the roof.
That is now a regular checkoff item on the custodial schedule.
Yep.
Is checking the roof drains.
Yep.
And it
I'm only
absolutely.
I'm only being partly facetious.
And that was, and the issue that was up there was not, it wasn't anything they were visually going to see, is what
Right.
part of that was. But now they are going up, making sure that the screens are clean, making sure that everything up there is clean. When that happened, you would have went up there and went, where's the plug up? There's just wasn't visually there. So, but they are making a very conscientious effort to make sure debris is not going down in and doing that. So, we'll
I got a
obviously
que- I
come
got a
back to that
question.
item. Yeah.
Regarding the elementary roof,
Yep.
we're doing just part of it. What is the condition of the rest of the roof? Is
The rest of the roof
close
does continue to need work. We're going after the worst areas first. There are parts that are better than others, and we, between last year's project and this year's project, we will get the worst areas out of the way. I'm going to talk about a plan moving forward on the rest of the elementary roof, because it will, as these parts have delaminated, we're going to now run into issues. The roof is essentially the same. The roof is all one age, other than the parts that we've replaced. So we do need a plan moving forward to get the rest of it taken care of. And Lisa and I have talked about some ideas on the budget side on how to take care of that. And that's why I've got a discussion item there. So the other item on my report, very briefly, just a reminder that the annual budget hearing and then the annual meeting are on October 30th, and the budget hearing is at 6 p.m. with the annual meeting to follow immediately after the budget hearing. And then after that, there will be typically we have a special session to approve the levy, and it'll probably be a budget approval within that, now that we finally can build our budget. The numbers from the state are absolutely helpful. I don't want to say that they're not. It could have been designed differently. There's debate about that and things, but I'm not going to say that the increase in per pupil aid, that's very helpful to us. Another budget saver for us this year will be open enrollment. We're positive revenue there. Just as kind of a preview as I talk about this on the annual meeting, a thing that's so the positives, the state budget, the open enrollment. Negative would be the 4K number at the moment is a negative. That's gonna hurt some of the bottom line on the budget, because those are low numbers there with enrollment. But overall down the road, the path still looks like by next year we should start to see some increased revenue limit dollars due to the increase in enrollment overall. So that will be a positive. We've been back and forth on some numbers with our 6603 agreements and some other budget items. We will likely look at a deficit again this year. last I spoke with Lisa, the deficit was down, up, sideways. So, as we've been plugging in numbers, it's changed things here and there. Um, I I don't want to promise anything. I just would say my sense at the moment is it will be in a better position than last year. So I don't know that it will be a lot better, but it will be a better position than last year. So predicting that forward from a year ago, you would have predicted it would have doubled. We shouldn't be seeing that kind of a thing. It should be a better position than last year. So on the deficit side. So,
All right,
and
very
that's
good.
it for my report.
Thank you. Next item, questions and comments from people in attendance. Anyone wish to address the board? Okay, and we'll move on to consent agenda. Number 5, consider approval of minutes of past meetings, September 13th.
So move.
Second?
A motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carried. Number 6, consider approval of financial reports. Are there any gifts?
Yeah.
Nicole James donated a large amount of school supplies for the elementary school. And the Bookworms Club, whose members include Joan Palin, Kathy Cronkite, Carol Keel, Mary Hoyer, Kathy Ranke, Terry Davis, Vivian Heidman, Sue Davies, Mary Haynes, and Karen Thiel, had a sale at the Port Fun Fest to benefit the elementary library. A check for $155 was received from that event.
Very good. Thank you. With those gifts, I'll seek a motion to approve the financial reports.
So moved. Second?
A motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carried. There's no unfinished business, so we move on to new business. Consider approval of 6603 agreement with the Nakusa School District.
And as I've mentioned in the past, these are agreements that we have for various reasons. Some are for services that we do, that we contract with, and some are for students who attend Nakusa Academy. That might be a reason, or as well some virtual school offerings. And I would ask your approval of this. This is, as always, we try to bring these as they are in the best interest of the student.
All right, is there a motion to approve?
Second?
Motion by Kathy, seconded by Tracy. Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carried. Next item, consider approval of National Honor Society Advisor Rachel Frizzell.
Yeah, Ms. Frizzell is our Spanish teacher, and she's agreed to take on the task of National Honor Society advisor, and I'd ask your approval. So move.
Second?
A motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carried. Number 10, consider approval of amendment to performance contract with Complete Control, Inc. for the 2017-2018 Energy Efficiency Project.
So originally, the performance contract did not include the high school roof. It included only roof projects here at the elementary school, along with contingencies of lighting, control systems, univents, so several different contingencies on that. The project is being amended to include the high school roof. It does not change the dollar amount. We're still limited to $510,000. The high school roof and drains will be the current amount is $139,963, along with asbestos abatement of just shy of $10,000 at $9,447. And some engineering costs as well because of the special nature of trying to make sure that we are correcting the right problems. The project will still include some roof sections here at the elementary, along with contingencies. So I would ask for your approval of an amended scope of work or amended contract that would change the scope of work of our projects to include the high school roof.
Good, I entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Tracy, seconded by Carrie, to approve the amendment to the performance contract with Complete Control. Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carried. Discussion of 2018-2019 energy efficiency project.
So in working with Lisa and Complete Control and CISA 10 and some various entities, just a very brief conversation on this. The governor's budget eliminates energy efficiency exemptions for 1,000 years starting on January 1st. So any future projects you have to pass your resolution and have things in place. You don't have to complete the project. You just have to have the resolution completed and the project scope in place by December 31st. Lisa and I will be attending a budget forecasting session in November to work with Baird Financial on forecasting out budgets for next year. That should be a lot easier task knowing now what's included in the budget from the state. We have talked about the idea of continuing for what I would call a fourth round of energy efficiency. It'd be a one last time shot at doing some things, and in that, working with our performance contractor and CISA 10 to develop what would it take to get the elementary roof finished with some small contingencies built in there, and really laser focus on, we know this roof above us is 20 plus years old. Parts of it have severely failed. We need to address the rest of it. It is time. We looked at that as being, we would approach this rather conservatively because what we don't know in December are what the equalized values for the district are going to be a year from now. There are some pieces, although we know what the state budget says, there are some property tax pieces and other things that aren't in place that we don't know, property value pieces. We approached it this year rather conservatively again and said, okay, on a conservative estimate, we think we could do this without raising the mill rate to the taxpayer. We think we could do this project for X dollar amount. Again, we still have to put some numbers, finalized numbers. We're predicting it will either be the same, a little bit more, or a little bit less on mill rate. So we really tried to focus that to keep that mill rate as stable as possible. Again, working with Baird, doing some predicting, come up with some numbers that we could bring to the board in December and say, here would be one last shot at energy efficiency. Let's take care of the rest of some of the big ticket items that we know are out there. At that point, if the board would like to do that, the majority of the roofing in between the two buildings will have been completed over the course of 3 years at that point. We will have addressed a lot of the lighting needs. We'll address some of the air conditioning needs. We'll have addressed some heating needs. We'll have addressed a lot over the course of 4 years and done it without raising the mill rate of the district residents and done it without having to go into debt. So, Lisa and I first though want to look at what's Baird forecasting with us on a budget. What would deficits look like? What will those pieces look like a year from now? Maybe even 2 years now. We know we can get this done prior to that December date, but that's the key date. Otherwise, once that clock ticks to January 1, it's 1,000 years of not doing it.
You would be able to get it done before December meeting?
Yes.
Or
Yep, and we would work with Complete Control as an amended, we would continue to use them as the performance contractor, amend that contract another time, so it would call for another contract amendment, And Complete Control's numbers, came in much lower than the competitors when we originally bid this. Those numbers don't change in the amended contracts that way. And it would allow us to finish out and get some of those major items done.
If it took longer, we could possibly do a special session, or you don't think?
If we couldn't get it done by the board
December,
meeting in
yeah.
December, yeah, we could call a special session in December. It's got to be done by that
Right,
last day of
right.
December. I think we can get it put in place by then with the help of Complete Control and CISA. The big kicker is seeing where our forecasting of our budget is for the next year. And again, working with our financial advisors and making sure that we have our forecast as close as we can. And that's how we came up with the figure this year. It may be in the end that we could have asked for a little more money this year. But again, when we were looking at numbers last spring, it was hard to predict what's going to happen. And the big thing is really the equalized values in the district. What's going to go on with our property values? That really is what affects what's going to happen with the mill rate and these projects. So, but the board, you've held the mill rate, you've kept it stable or lowered it, and done some amazing projects. And we have not abused the concept of Act 32. I know some districts were putting in stadium lighting, they were putting in playground chips, they were rubberized playground chips, rubber tracks. That's the reason this piece of the law is closing on January 1, is some districts went after things that really were outside the original scope of what these projects were meant to be. These projects are meant to save us money on energy that we're using on that daily basis, and replacing boiler, a chiller, lighting, insulation, we're doing that. So, any questions on how we would approach that? It would be very similar to how we approached it in the spring. So, it doesn't call for any action on the board's part. I just wanted to let you know we've thought this forward now to deal with the rest of the roofs and how we can maybe get some of these pieces done yet. So.
All right. Any other discussion? I guess not. We'll move on to the next item. Designate State Education Convention Board Delegate. To the Delegate Assembly.
To the Delegate Assembly, and I think in the past, John and Leo, you've both served on that.
Done
Did
it
somebody else serve
several
on it
times.
this year?
I did it last year.
You did it last year?
No, we have 3 board members who have not had the delight of serving in this.
I went to the CISA thing.
In this capacity. Yes, you did.
When is this?
This is during the convention in January.
Oh,
So,
So,
first of
that's
all,
right.
who
Yeah.
all
Who's
is
going?
going?
I'm going. Is it grueling or what?
No, it's
No.
not grueling. This is the Delegate Assembly is the gathering of representatives from every school board in the state that create and establish policy for the state association. The various boards can set forth resolutions, and then the entire assembly can vote up or down regarding them, amend them. They're usually, a dozen, 15, give or take, takes an hour and a half, sometimes longer, on Wednesday afternoon of the convention. I've done it several times. If it moves along reasonably well, it's not too much of an ordeal. It becomes an ordeal when you have parliamentary anal types who argue over a will or a shall in a resolution, and then sides leap to the defense of one or the other, and you spend 45 minutes dealing with one sentence in one particular document, which after 90 minutes, I won't do that. But in answer to your questions, it gives you a real insight into what the big issues facing the state's educational processes are. In the bigger picture, it's really valuable. If you've not done it, all kidding aside, it gives you a picture of how education is run in this state that you do not get any other way.
I'll volunteer.
Bless your heart.
I know, right?
So when we get the documentation to forward that on, we will.
Yes.
And we know
can-
the dates again?
We can include that.
It's
It is,
the third Wednesday.
yep, 17th, 18th, 19th.
So
Oh, it's
we
early?
probably just take an official action, because it says we have to designate that.
Yes.
So you're going to want a motion in a second, and
I would,
I'll be delighted to move.
just make a nomination to elect Tracy, the delegate to the State Education Convention Board.
I'll second it.
All right.
There you go.
All those in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed?
Don't laugh at me.
It's all right.
Scaring me.
Okay. Next item, opportunity for individual board member comment. Start with Kathy.
I again just want to thank all the staff, the students, and the parents that put in many hours. I know homecoming is no small thing, and it takes a lot of people to make it happen and to make everything special. And I'd also like to congratulate the 8th graders on their exceptional behavior on the heavy metal bus tour. We received a really nice email from the gal at Midstate saying that our 8th grade students were very courteous and had good questions. So thanks to the staff that helped prepare the students get ready for that tour.
Leo?
When I visit the school to deal with driver's ed stuff or talk to Kyle, I am continually impressed by the demeanor and politeness of the student body. Like you say, Kathy, they're a picture of decorum. Their parents would be very proud. A lot of times, the stereotypical image of middle school and high school kids is when mom's away, the kids will play. And in this instance, I don't see that in my time in the buildings of the district. Staff, the students, the administration does a good job in keeping the idea that responsible behavior and proper decorum is important, and I'm always impressed. Thank you to the parents and the people responsible, especially to the kids.
Gary?
I guess I would just comment a little bit further on the homecoming, specifically the parade and pep rally on Thursday. The rain let up just about perfect for the parade. I don't think anybody walking out in the elements really got wet at all, if they were protected before the parade started, where it was raining a little bit. So we didn't have maybe as many people out on the streets for the parade, but I think we had more people in the gym this year than I've seen in a while, and the enthusiasm was high. It was great. It was really nice to see that everybody came out to participate. As you know, football is down to the 8th man, which was maybe a little bit of a negative at one point, but I think they've turned that into a positive, and the community supported everybody. So, and then obviously had the cross-country kids recognized at the pep rally as well, and you've got a bunch of younger runners too. That was nice to see that we maybe didn't have in the past. So, and actually, we think we had more high school runners than Nakusa this year, which is never happened that I recollect. So, just really nice to see a really good community gathering at that pep rally and parade.
I say the same with what everybody else says. I share everybody's opinions, especially the homecoming. It's amazing to see our small community come together. The students, the parents, the non-parents, teachers, everybody that enjoys the week together. It's a crazy busy time, but it's something for the kids to kind of unwind. Like Leo was saying about seeing such positive attitudes with the kids. I've watched them grow up as I've got a senior graduating this year, and he's my last. It's neat to see them little from Kathy's class all the way up to their graduating class. It's awesome to see how they've grown and they've matured, and that's kudos to the parents. That's kudos to the teachers and this amazing school system. I guess that's it. It's just neat to watch them mature like that and then be excited for their next chapter, because so many people are asking me, well, this is your youngest, how are you handling that? And I'm like, I'm excited. This is where he gets to take those wings and go. So it's exciting.
All right, thank you. Yeah, I was just going to congratulate the 8th graders on their behavior on the heavy metal bus tour. Had an awesome letter from Midstate commending them on their behaviors. Other than that, that's all I got. So the next item is establish future board meetings.
December 13.
Yeah, Wednesday, November 8th, and then December 13th.
Yep.
Okay, we'll do that one, December 13th. And